I hope, hello? Albert Sinot, hello, hi. I hope everyone can hear me all right. Excellent. Hey, Ryan. Good, some familiar faces. Gabriel Damas, hello. I don't want to rush into anything yet. Just give a couple minutes. I'm in the depths of the Sept Doigts de la Main studios for the Connect Festival right now. You can see there's some infrastructure behind me up in the ceiling here, but it's nice and quiet in this little bunker zone. So yeah. Good. So yeah, hi, Ashley. So I was really hoping for this as a workshop to be a situation where we could converse and discuss some of the systems I'll be presenting. It looks like we're going to be stuck to mostly text in the chat window. I'm just going to try something here. Great. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. So my name is Harley Smart. I'm a publisher at Anteism Books, and I'm a graduate student within Concordia's Design and Computation Arts program. So I wanted to thank Printemps numérique for the invitation to speak. So yeah, I'll be talking about my experience using large language models and how I've been considering their use in an artistic practice, as well as in my work as an independent book publisher. So I'm just going to share my screen here one moment. All right. So as I'm working in foundation models and text transformers, text-to-image transformers, I thought it fitting that I might illustrate and add some imagery to this presentation. So here, I won't point this out all the time, but as you can expect, some of it, yeah, there's a lot of images from DALL-E 2, Midjourney, some of these systems that you may have heard of. So if you are curious about large language models and these that have been making headlines in the last number of years, or the text-to-image models that have really been shaking up like the art world and visual culture world this last even just since the summer, then yeah, this workshop, I hope you'll be able to get a chance to try some of these out yourself, and even if help guide you through. And there are also I have some good friends here and collaborators that are in the chat that might be able to help too if I'm not paying attention. So thanks, Ryan and David. You guys are the best. So what I'll be doing in this workshop, I'll give you a quick peek at the various models that I've been using and then share some links in the chat. So just bear with me one moment. I'm going to copy a list of links here to some different systems that you could immediately access. So these are all API that shouldn't take long for you to join. Sorry, right there in the chat. So those systems I mentioned here, we have GPT-3, GPT-J, which is a free version, that is scaled down free version. There's Stable Diffusion, which is going to be more for image, text to image, DALL-E 2 for image, Midjourney again for image, accessible through Discord server if you have Discord. And then some other links, a prompter tool that we'll be looking at, Hugging Face, Mini DALL-E, which I don't know if it even works still. And then beyond that, there's a couple other links at the bottom I wanted to share for building chatbots with Quick Chat, a commercial service, but really great for integrating if you have an enterprise or other applications. And they support. And then Hypothesis, an open annotation tool that I want to quickly show you later. And also a video from OpenAI that gives a good explanation for DALL-E in these text-to-image models. So developed somewhat unintentionally in 2017 by researchers working on translation models. These text transformers and transformer architecture hasn't been around really that long. And to quote Jensen Huang from his NVIDIA GTC keynote recently in September, he says, large language models are the most important AI models today. Based on the transformer architectures, large language models are giant and learn to understand the meaning of language from the corpus of human knowledge without supervision and without labeled data sets. So for a quick disclaimer, I want to point out, and I'm going to give a full introduction to my work, but my background is in the fine arts. I'll do my best to answer any of your technical questions, but I'm here, I'd like to focus more on my experience, my own personal experience using it in a creative practice. And I was honestly a little bit intimidated by the list of attendees today and their specializations and as developers, AI specialists, mathematicians. So I quickly just scrapped my own slides today about trying to explain the workings of this. And instead, I think at the end, I'll just share some great resources for learning about the workings of these systems. And that goes as well for maybe some of the ethical questions, much larger conversations that I don't think we'll be able to tackle or give it the right attention to today in this short time. So, but yeah, of course, I would, if anybody has anything to say, please, I guess, raise hands and we can point out some at certain points here. So yeah, we'll be using today, I'll be showing you mostly the GPT-3 API by OpenAI. So there has been a steady stream of increasingly more powerful models that are being released, with the current title for the strongest or the largest, the most powerful going to recently released Chinchilla. And a lot of these have their own strengths. The astounding prolific impact these will all have on arts and culture is enormous. And it needs to be pointed out that these models are about to displace so many creative jobs over the next couple of years, and ones that until recently were thought to be protected from automation. So like creating art, that was always thought to be like, well, it's thought to be protected or something unattainable or the last thing to be automated, whereas it's the reverse. It's been, revealed to be one of the first things is our creative work and imagery right now. So I'm coming at these systems with an artistic approach. This may seem like when I'm showing you some of my examples, a lot more playful and like feeling like inconsequential. But when looked at other perspectives, I see it's clear that these, there's many problems that can be created once these impacts reach people's jobs, and it seeps through the cultural sphere, or it can be harmful in the media, of course, and fuel, all around these systems fuel our demand for more and more resource-hungry technologies. So I'm hopeful for, techniques like sparsity or, evolutions of data and energy systems so how these will be integrated. But again, another topic, I think, for today. So I will run down some use cases for the models. All of these that we're going to be looking at and that I'm using myself, they're all using natural language. So it's very simple to jump in and work with these systems and these models here and integrate them into your own workflow. So myself, I'm using these to generate ideas for artist books. And as a publisher and somebody working in creatively, like artistic practices, publishing in book works, I've been using these to generate ideas and to support my creative workflow. So these are very useful for solving writer's block, revealing insights. We can build chatbots with these large language models and have them be specialized in topics of our choice. It's really just like, I'll show you more about prompting, but we're just telling the machine what it is, what it's specialized is, what topic, and we're developing a reading partner that we can go ahead and converse with on any topic. So idea generations, again, this is what I'm using it for. This goes on, and I'd say there's really no wrong way to use this. I mean, without using it like in ethical purposes or whatever, of course. But there's no I wouldn't say there's no wrong way to approach it and sit down and start typing and say, there are a lot of proven ways and samples and examples, especially in the playground. We'll see there are a bunch of pre-programmed or settings that you can go in and start adjusting. Same thing for the image models. Very useful for quickly illustrating your ideas, preparing pitch decks, working into workflow, or going multimodal or daisy chaining, or building these into one another. So using the text to the image, to another image generator, back to the text, all of a sudden we're generating a lot of content really quickly. So I want to give a bit of a backstory on Anteism at the moment. I hope that you're all, or some of you, if you haven't already tried some of the models, that you maybe take some of the links, take a chance now to go and get access to maybe GPT-3 or GPT-J while I'm giving the presentation. And it would be fun if later on, halfway through, we can share some outputs in the window. So yeah, about Anteism, Ryan Thompson and myself formed it in 2004. And since the beginning, we've always explored experimental new technologies and how they may be applied to book arts. So this included exploring new digital print methods, web-based print on demand, and network publishing in 2000s, and then being drawn to augmented reality really heavily in the 2010s, where we began exploring the intersection of art and AI around 2015. And that's a topic we continue to regularly publish books on. We have a project space here in Montreal on Beaubien West. Printemps numérique is opening an art exhibition there tonight titled Ecosystems of Hope. So we've held a number of exhibitions in the space ourselves, exploring AI art in the 3 years that we've occupied this space. Around 2014, we received a submission by artist Emmanuel Marceau. It was titled Deep Learning Describes Abstract Paintings. So this book presented modern abstract paintings opposite captions, which had been generated by, at the time, the most advanced image recognition algorithms. So this is back in 2014, and this Google API looking at it, say this one, a Franz Klein piece, where it describes it as a black and white photo of a horse in a field. So at this time, I had no understanding of machine intelligence, and this artist book, which I found both fascinating and hilarious, was my first introduction to AI, as well as how you could work with it in the conception of an artist book. We proceeded to publish a number of artist books and publications over the following years, which featured artists collaborating with AI or using generative techniques, which culminated in an exhibition we had in 2019 called New Technologies, New Visions at Printed Matter's LA Art Book Fair. That was at the Mocha Geffen Museum in LA. So this exhibition was in partnership with the Artists and Machine Intelligence Program at Google Arts and Culture. And preparing it brought us into contact with some really incredible artists, such as Anna Riddler, Refik Anadol, and Tom White. On this occasion, we had the pleasure of releasing a book for Casey Rees called Making Pictures with Generative Adversarial Networks. So Casey's a pioneer in generative art. He's a co-creator of the software called Processing, and he's a prof at Media Arts at USCLA. So we actually have copies of this and other books at our booth here at the Connect Festival. If you're on site, if you come downstairs, we're actually just giving away copies of the Gans book here by Casey. Here is an excellent video we had the pleasure of co-contributing to. It's Javi Johnston who produced this video for his book. We worked on this and released it in 2009. It's called Rewrites. So we published it. We did have an impressive installation that David prepared at our inaugural exhibition for the space called Latency. And this we released this work was produced in help from the GPT-2 text transformer, so the previous iteration of version before the 3. And David prepared an input corpus of literature to train this algorithm. So the output provided him with about 200,000 pages of generative poetry, which he spent a whole year editing down in a reductive or deletionist manner. The final edit was gathered into a box set of 12 books, each containing the works edited that month. So the 12 books, each one has that month worth of text. So the installation was illuminated by a projector, which allowed video capture of the editing process. So really on a large plinth, we hit the box set, and then just a screen capture of David's process of working and deleting. So this, I call it like a term Gregory Chatonsky coined called hyper-productive systems or models. And this is an example where like 200,000 pages, it's just enormous amount. And then that's one thing I would say like about working with these models and GPT-3 and the other image models is like for the image models, it's easy to set down and spew out 500 images in a night. Where the text models, same thing, just pages and pages. I think I'm having a little tech difficulties here. The slides seem to have dropped out. Just give me one moment while I try and get these back. Oh dear, it seems they've been cut out for a few minutes here, huh? All right, I think I can try again here. All right, can somebody give me a thumbs up or let me know, did that seem to work? Yes, thanks, David. All right. Okay. Back on track, I think. Oh. So in 2020, OpenAI released GPT-3, a fantastically more powerful text transformer than the previous. So it had become popular for its capacity to complete text and generate literature with minimal prompting. The model is trained on enormous amounts of text, operating on technology equivalent to next word predictions, which I'm sure you're all familiar with on your smartphone. The training data itself is made of everything from virtually all of Wikipedia, I believe, all of Google Books archives, loads extensive academic journals, as well as a bulk of social media and web-based content. So this idea of a machine that can generate language and books has been around for a long time. The first reference I've come across were in Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, where a knowledge engine was operated by dozens of hand cranks and shifted characters. Another popular example are the novel writing machines in George Orwell's book, 1984, published in 1948. These devices used to automatically produce fiction. And so now coming, here we are, 2022, I believe there's at least a few hundred individual books now available, which were written by GPT-3. So it's this is a system, a good example of an AI system which uses natural language processing, or NLP. And this, for me, this just means essentially we can work with it by typing as we normally would, very accessible, very easy to jump into and work with. If you're like me and you have no programming background, 'cause I literally no computer science. I played a bit with HTML when I was younger, but working with GPT-3, it's all through OpenAI's Playground, a web interface that we interact with, this API. So this web-based API allows us to interact directly with the 10,000 GPU cluster, which powers the system's processing. So we would usually begin by typing our prompt here in this window. You can go right ahead and type anything into this window here. You could look at some of the presets and really just start playing with it. Parameters on the side here, on the one side of the window, you'll see give you a certain amount of control on what is generated. And so that's something I'll demo for you as well later. So imagine feeding the engine here with loads of psychonautic 70s literature, holistic wellness texts, meta self-aware French science as a corpus for training. This is what artist, curator, and educator Ken Alado McDowell did in the first half of the pandemic in 2020. This is before it was released publicly, which he used it to write a book called Pharmaco AI, which was published by Ignota Books in London. So using the algorithm as an experimental conversation partner, Alado McDowell wrote this book over 2 weeks in a writing process similar to musical improvisation. The formatting of this book is really incredible, as the voice you're reading alternates between the GPT-3 output and then Kenrick's. So bold for his text, and then italic for the output. And what's fascinating is that the algorithm gradually resolves and adopts his writing style increasingly from the chapter to chapter. Then at one point, Kenrick notes that he's begun to even think and even dream in the algorithm style, like he's adopting its style too, to some extent, to converse smoothly. I came across the work of Aram Sabeti when I was just getting into learning, seeing what others were doing. And Aram Sabeti he's an artist and futurist based in San Francisco. He shared some examples on his website. So just after a couple hours of playing with this, he had it writing poetry. He had it write a Dr. Seuss poem about Elon Musk. After first feeding and training the algorithm with text from both Dr. Seuss and media coverage of Elon Musk. So this was fine-tuned in. It's a process I'll speak about again. But from there, he really didn't write a single word except for the bold prompt. So that what you see at the top that's in bold, this is the prompt here, and it really sets the stage for everything that will follow. And here he instructs it. We're telling it this is in that prompt there. The poem has a structure typical of Dr. Seuss's stories with simple alternate line rhymes. As I said, it knows so much already about Elon Musk through the media. It knows so much about Dr. Seuss already from that which was in the training originally. So it just goes on to output these poems. Another great one he provided was a fake generated dialogue between Jerry Seinfeld and Eddie Murphy about living in San Francisco. So again, his prompt is in the bold on the left, and what follows, it's kind of a stand-up comedy routine. So reading this, I genuinely hear their voices in my head. GPT is like picking up on their individual speaking styles and patterns in the language and grammar they use, and then just generating on demand. So the implication of this tech on arts and culture and literature, cinema, is like really incredible. And Aram leads us to imagine this future where books, movies, and content are all on demand, generating according to our personal style parameters. So in computation arts program, I've been exploring how foundation models such as these will impact independent publishing. A big part of this research Am I back? Oh gosh, thanks for everyone's patience here. Sure what's going on, but I'll just continue. All right. Yeah, sorry, it's a little complicated because I can't see the chat when it does cut out, so I don't know. I'm going to just continue again. I'll just back up just in case. So yeah, I wanted to introduce this term machine books, which I've been using to refer to the bookworks and prototypes I've been making. So again, these machine books is good for working, like I feel it's a good working term for describing bookworks with combinations of AI or mixed reality where computation is required in either conception or to experience the book. And then the idea of working with the GPT-3 to generate material combinations, it grew from an experience working on Amaranth Borsuk's book. It's titled The Book, 101 Definitions. And this collection of concise personal definitions of what the book is or could be was gathered by Amaranth from publishers, artists, and literary folks from around the world. So the intention was to survey personal and concise definitions of what it could be, and inspired me to produce a collection of similar definitions, which could be used to prompt the GPT-3 system to generate further ideas. So quickly, a couple examples of output or initial tests from the model, which friend Alexander Reben helped generate. He had early access to this model, and I gave him some examples from various, like from Amaranth and other books, and he returned me these. A book is a book. You can't do any of this without a book. You need a computer. A book is a container of thoughts, phrases, and emotions. And the very act of selecting a book and opening the cover is an act of co-creation. So these are some of what were returned. Now the success rate of how coherent these are, the return texts, are depending on how prevalent the related content is on the web, as the transformer was trained on web text. So with this info, we can expect that a prompt with novel concepts, words, or objects will result in coherent returns and vice versa. But the final list of prompts, which I input for GPT-3 for the final project, were descriptions of specific artist books, which I structured to incorporate both industrial and domestic post-consumer waste. So example, photos of cell phone stores on Jean Talon, laser printed in black and white on found plastic between salvaged sheets of PVC. So, or a book made like a sausage, following traditional recipes and using proper spices, but substituting other books as the meat. The cover is a casing of salvaged translucent vinyl. Like, this is actually based on a literature worse book by Dieter Roth, and I adjusted it to have post-consumer materials. So again, I was using post-consumer waste materials, trash items, recycling, and this was like my material for the algorithm to kind of learn off and go off in a direction to make new book ideas that are all using also like post-consumer waste. So here are a few final completions that were produced from the textual prompts in the previous slide. So after establishing these parameters, the model could essentially generate an unlimited number of such prompts where you could then take off to skim through and pull any that you find interesting. So like I would take these and just tons and tons of them. I would go through and kind of select which ones I might try and make myself in the studio. So for example, a book made from a stack of hand-torn pieces of textiles stitched together. Oh gosh. Trying to fix the screen. Okay, so there, yeah, I'll try and move a lot faster now. Seems to only have a couple minutes at a time. and I got to account for all the extra time where we're down here. So let's go. So this was one book I made describing machine books. It's so a collab with, again, with the GPT-3, and I made this book entirely out of plastics, and I gathered all these outputs that I had put together and printed them on the pages. So all of these new descriptions of the waste, these post-consumer waste books, I printed throughout the book. The covers on this were actually made. On the left, you'll see that the cover is made from our household waste. That was mostly like formula containers for my daughter, mashed up with whatever else. The pages were from plastic bags because I collected around the neighborhood. There's an installation view of the different types of plastic I was using to make these materials. Here's a book, one of these outputs, a book with a cover made out of a wall from an abandoned factory. So this is literally a piece of the wall from our gallery that I cut out. So that's the wall. It's the factory was pretty much abandoned. Our space was like a derelict space where there'd been a fire. We cleaned it out. So, and that piece of wall, yeah, it was a jute factory where they were making jute. So I stayed as true as I could to the prompts. On the interior, it was pretty open because it didn't give me any instructions for the interior. And I ended up just taking all these computer vision images from a 3D scan of the space. So these weird images I found of the gallery when we did our 3D scan. So that's what you see on the left. Here's one here, a book that doubles as a Molotov cocktail. And that was quite simple. That prompt, it was during the early days of the Ukraine war. And I thought it, yeah, poignant, this one, to make. And then I prompted it to write. So I wanted to put it described a bit more detail of what was in the top here, that the instructions were made and printed on a cloth and stuffed in the top. So the rest of the book was poetry about the Molotovs. This one was a book as a house for a plant. So a book made entirely of concrete with a hole cut out of the top for plants to grow through. The pages are made from shredded newspaper. The cover is a cast concrete slab that is also used as the roof. That book didn't do so well. I put it in the garden, and it's wet. So that I was using it for continuation. Here's an example of a dream continuation book where I just added the first page or two of text and then let it continue this dream that I had been abruptly woken from. So that was a continuation. At that time, I was just starting to use the text-to-image models. There was a mini DALL-E that I used to produce these, and I'd known about DALL-E 2 was coming up. So that's just 3 months since then, or 4 months since then. And it's already it's moving so quickly with the image models. Here we have a book made entirely of crime scene photos, police reports, and court documents. The binding is held together with crime scene tape. At this point, I started playing more with the hugging tree or hugging face mini DALL-E, and that's what I used to create these. They're a much lower resolution and coherent images, but it was a lot of fun. They were a lot of fun to play with, and this is where I started taking those descriptions and also passing them through as well to kind of like ideate the visual of what the book could be as well. Another book I created here, just gathering, and I called this one Too Long Don't, or TDLR, so Too Long Don't Read. And that coming out of like working with these language models for months was that it's just way too much to process. One sec, please. Here we are. I'm not sure if anyone caught this last slide. Continuations, yeah, again, using the text to an input text in the beginning. I used a dream, continued on for about 30 pages and then illustrated it. And it was a bad dream, so I don't know, I don't feel too good about the book, but yeah, an example for continuation. This here, the police report book. So a true crime book made entirely of crime scene photos, police reports, court documents. So again, using the model to illustrate these and like kind of iterating really for me what the materials could be, or the format and the assembly and all these things. And yeah, I mean, it's a quick way. I don't know. I feel like I might in the cutting room or on the table in the studio when I'm arranging, you know, and like throwing images down. I kind of have that sense, and yeah, it was really hard to wrap my head around early on and mind blowing. But like now, it just kind of, I feel like I integrate into my workflow a bit, and I mean, it's not too offending or on my own, you know, practice. This Too Long Don't Read. I get. This book here is just a collection of interesting little pieces that I pulled from all of my output. And again, it was way too easy to sit down and get in the zone where you like generate, and then having to go through and read it later. It was like a chore. But so that's it. Yeah, too long didn't read or don't read. Like that's one of the pitfalls I think of this tech and these models, is that it's easy to overproduce, and it gets to be the point where it's not that interesting for other people either, if they're doing especially if they're doing the same. And last, just for this this presentation part, I wanted to bring or show this card deck called Oblique Strategies. So this deck was created by Brian Eno and Peter Schmidt in 1975. It was intended as a tool to promote creativity and lateral thinking. And the event you were suffering from creative block, the idea was that you could pull all the cards out. They all had different phrases and prompts or instructions that could help to reframe your problem and help provide another approach. So my experience working with the language models, even if it's limited, left me with a somewhat similar feeling of working with the card deck, like surprise, a rich sense of renewed creative options, and this impression of working in a random chance operation. All right, we're gonna close. I'm going to close this, and hopefully it fixes some of our problems. All right, I'm back. Could I ask if, like today, just up till now, is there any questions anybody has? Hope my sound's working. All right, I've closed the slides, so it should just be my video now. I wish I could. Can I invite anybody to speak here? Anybody want to join me and add your audio? Hi, Jimmy. No way, Brian says. All right. Well, if anybody wants to, please, like, I don't know if there's a hand raise or something. And thanks for letting me know if my sound or whatever's cutting out. This is, it's been a bit of a challenge. All right. What I'm going to try and do. Oh, Ashley, there's a poem Ashley just generated. Wow. And Ashley, did you just produce that? And has anyone had any luck to log into one of these models or create an account and play around? Great. All right. Okay. Well, what I think I'll do, yeah, text to image would be fun. I think what I'll do next is to actually just try and demonstrate with one. I'll do another video screen share and see if I can demonstrate for you. All right. All right. So now, yeah, I'm just going to open up a playground. So this is if you got a chance already to log in here, I mean, just doing a little screen cap would be really cool. I think what Ashley just managed to do, like screen capture her output, was a good way we could do this for the workshop portion. And then also any images, like if we can do this on our own machines and like capture an image or text and do a screen cap and drop it there, I think that's probably going to be the best way we can have the interactive part of this happen. But I'm going to just show you here working in Playground. So I'll give you a little walk around. So on, let's see, the drop down here, I have my own presets that I've created. These are all essentially just like prompts or text chunks that I've been working on and adjusting. So this one here is called, it's a chat. It's a basic chat. I'll show you the simple chat, which comes with it. So the following is a conversation with an AI assistant. The assistant is helpful, clever, creative, and very friendly. So that right there sets it up. So the model or the transformer knows what it's doing, what we're like up to here in the playground window, and what the most probable next bit of text is going to be. Like what's the most, like statistically, it's going to be the next thing here. So, and then we have a bit of controls like these stop sequences. If you pay attention, like the human and AI, like there's a bit of controls here. If you are adjusting and building your own chatbot, like I'd say just copy what's here. This is a great starting point. It has the right settings, inject, start, inject, restart, all of these things. I'd be careful not to play with them move them too much. Definitely play with the temperature, maximum length. You can control like how long the responses can be up to. This is also reflective or relevant to like the compute, and like if you're paying for it, like what it's might cost as well. So I'd be careful in maximum length. Maybe find something that is like starts to sound right, or like you feel like you're getting the right kind of responses, and then you can turn up that length when you really like feel like you're having a good return. Temperature, you could liken this to creativity, and if we turn it way down, it's going to be much more honest or deterministic in its responses. As we turn it up, as it goes farther and farther, it's like a much more random, much more creative, you could say. These models here, there's a number, Da Vinci is the strongest. These other few here, I think just for text writing, it's probably fine to even use the lower base models. But you can go on and fine tune these models. So this is a whole nother process we won't get into, like we won't do this fine tuning process, but what you do is create a CSV file where you can add thousands of entries into like a Excel sheet, basically, save a CSV and load that. And it's like this extra little layer of fine tuning or of training that happens. When we go and press submit here, we're gonna press submit on a text. Tell me about fine tuning. So it's gonna, whatever, it's traveling through that top layer. It's traveling first through this prompt, this very small prompt that we've entered to set the direction. And it's gonna go through any fine tuning if you have it, and then it's gonna go through the model, the entire model algorithm and come back. So that model we fine tune, even thousands and thousands of entries that we program, it's still only going to be a very small percentage at the top layer, but that's going to inform the return that we're getting. Let me try and bring my slides back again. I'm told they're down. Okay, I hope that worked. Now, see, I have a couple more here. A couple more that come with the example. So great translation, excellent translation. I'd still recommend, there's maybe others that are better to use. DeepL is an amazing translator online, but otherwise this very strong translation. Summarization here, like we could enter any text and have it summarized. So, and like this is very small compared to like some of the blocks of text in academic writing and technical writing that you can drop into this and then summarize for whatever level you like. So this right here, that second grade student, and it's informing what the return's going to be, but you could really be specific and you could really build further on top of this prompt. And sometimes, like myself, I've been working like 500 word prompts and really trying to detail in, and it's questionable like whether it's effective or not. I think like it can be. I think you can find yourself chasing your tail a bit, like trying to add all these details in. And sometimes simple is a lot. Like I think simple is probably a lot better for most of this. There's lots of idea generation and other examples. There's a ton. If you go more examples, there's a ton more examples. I'm just going to jump into some of the other ones here. Book idea generator. So this is an example of what I was doing. So I might have started with like the first three, and then I generated. So I wrote these first three, possibly. Like I don't recall. Conceptual art ideas for books made from post-consumer waste, materials, and trash. That was my prompt, and then I direct it a bit these first examples like that makes up my prompt right there. And then I adjust the temperature, get it a bit crazy, move it up to 7.2. And then I would start going through and sifting through all these returns. I should say like a huge thanks to everybody who's still in this, despite all the technical difficulties. And Ryan pointing me out and texting me here. Bling, bling. Okay, I'll finish up on this and show the image works. So, but yeah, as you can see, like I've been building this out over some time and just selecting ones that I like and dropping out others. So yeah, most of what's here in my prompt was probably generated and then called out or like deleted out and just kept. So I've been building on this and building on this generator here. I did, and sometimes I'll use my own fine tune. Like I can switch around and add my own fine-tune model, which is largely trained or that fine-tuning was done mostly on my literature review. Like I pulled a lot of stuff from what I was reading for my thesis work and added that in. So it's really starting to inform like the kind of create this world that language. Now, a couple other ones, Midjourney prompt. I'm going to go into Midjourney next. I think I'll try. But one thing with Midjourney and the text image, well, Midjourney particularly has a bit of a certain formatting that it likes and that work well for the illustrations, where you can start to control all kinds of elements like aspect ratio and such, and the keywords. So this was a generator I created, a prompt that I created for entering any block of text. As you see, input. So summarize the following passages into imagery prompts. That was what I wrote. Probably could improve on that prompt. That have my input here.